extreme accountability in your fitness journey and how to take control and stay control in your fitness journey. Has anybody ever read the book Extreme Accountability? If not, it's a good one. But this is going to be specifically towards fitness today. Okay. So extreme accountability, what it is and why it changes everything. So extreme accountability means owning all of your outcomes in your fitness journey and not blaming it on outside things, not blaming it on stressful situations, on schedules, genetics, or having bad weeks. And this actually helps accelerate your progress when responsibility becomes your personal power, because you realize that you can control a lot of what happens and how your body responds to it if you just do all the right things. So it gives you kind of more of like a power, because you understand that like you can control a lot of what's happening. And taking extreme accountability isn't punishment, it's actually freedom, because once you realize that you're in control, you can decide what happens. Okay, so what extreme accountability really means, it's that your results are feedback, not a verdict. So just because one week didn't go well, it doesn't mean it's just like, that's how all the weeks are going to go. It's just basically like, okay, so that's what happened, and this is what the result was, and this is what I need to change to move forward. So it's not really a death sentence by any means. You can always make changes to improve and to get better. And then if something isn't working, it's your job to adjust. So realize why it's not working, come up with a plan, and then make the adjustments. And then it also means that consistency beats perfection every time. So the people who do best in these fitness programs aren't people who do everything perfectly. It's people who show up and do it most of the time, every single day. And they're just very, very consistent, and they do it for months and for years. And the best transformations that we post on my page are people who are just really dang consistent. They're not perfect, but they are very consistent. And then extreme accountability means that you stop asking, why is this happening to me? Why is my life always like this? And you start asking, what can I control to do better? Or what can I do to make the outcome different? So you realize that stuff isn't happening to you, and you can take control and see what you can do to do better. So what extreme accountability is not, it's not shame or self-criticism. You never should beat yourself up for not following the program or for not doing something as good as you could have. And extreme accountability is not ignoring real life obstacles. We've had so many things pop in while coaching people, deaths, injuries. None of the clients have died, but like people and their families have died. And so like obstacles, deaths, holidays and stressful situations, getting fired at work. We've seen it all. So it's not ignoring those, but it's learning how to tackle those real life situations in a healthy way. And then also not expecting perfection, just kind of expecting to be consistent, even when things aren't perfect. And then also extreme accountability is not comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. So extreme accountability is honest, it's calm, and it's solution focused. So here is how the lack of accountability shows up. So skipping a workout and blaming it on motivation. So you're like, oh, I just really wasn't motivated today, so I'm not going to get my workout in. Or I just really didn't want to go to the gym, or I really just didn't want to go out for a walk to hit my steps. I'm just not motivated today. And then blaming it on either motivation or blaming it on not having enough time, when if you really broke it down, you probably did have the time to do it. You just chose not to. And then tracking inconsistently, but expecting consistent results. I think this is one of the biggest one. I think the next two are the biggest ones that I see people struggling with, is tracking inconsistently, but expecting consistent results. People are expecting to get full results when they're only doing half of the tracking. You can, if you half track, you can expect half results, right? I think one of the biggest things is a lot of people hire a fitness coach to help with fat loss, like a fat loss goal, is because they're always eating in a calorie surplus. So that's why they're putting on body fat. And so if you're tracking inconsistently, you're not just going to naturally be in a calorie deficit. Tracking actually helps us stay in that calorie deficit. And that's why we want you guys to track, because a lot of people are eating in calorie surpluses and we need you in a deficit so that way we can get you to your goal. But if you're tracking inconsistently, then you can expect inconsistent results. And then weekend habits, undoing weekday effort. Another huge problem that we see with coaching people, tracking Monday through Friday afternoon hits, you're off work, and then you overindulge Friday through Sunday, and then you start again Monday, and then you're in this vicious cycle of being in a calorie deficit Monday through Friday, but then you're in a calorie surplus on the weekends, and then it puts you at this maintenance phase. So you feel like you are dieting so hard, but then you're just stuck at maintenance, or the scale isn't moving and nothing's really happening. But it's because you're undoing all of your dieting throughout the week on the weekend. And so it's putting you in this crazy maintenance phase where you are literally dieting most of the days, like 4.5 days out of the 7, majority of the days, but you're undoing all of the 4.5 days of work on the weekend. And so that puts you into that maintenance cycle, which is so frustrating. Okay, so waiting for the right time instead of creating one. When I hop on calls with people, I get so many excuses as to why they don't want to start the program right now. They're like, oh, I just don't know if it's a good time because I have a vacation coming up, or, oh, I don't know if it's a good time because I just got a new position at work, or I don't know if it's a good time because the holidays are coming up. There's literally always going to be something that pops up. So the best time is literally right now, like the present. There's no right time to do something because there's always going to be a reason why you shouldn't do it. There's always going to be an excuse why you shouldn't do it. So just realizing like there's not going to be a right time, let's just do it. And that helps people kind of like actually take the step rather than using all of the reasons or excuses to not start. And just being aware of these thoughts. I think a lot of these goes into our self-sabotage conversation that we had last week. But being aware of how you're kind of like self-sabotaging can help you take the first step into taking that accountability. So how to practice extreme accountability daily. So track your workouts and nutrition honestly. So if you didn't do your workouts, then don't say that you did your workouts. Or if you didn't lift a certain amount of number or a certain amount of weight and it was your final week of the phase, don't lie and say that you lifted more just so your coach is proud of you. Just track it honestly. And then that way we can have that data to go off of to see where we can improve. Also tracking your nutrition honestly. I think the biggest thing with nutrition is a lot of people will realize that they're going to go over on their calories one day and then they stop tracking. They're like, okay, well, since I'm already over, I'm just going to not track and I'm just going to start tracking tomorrow. And I personally am guilty with this when I'm in a fight camp and I'm tracking. I'm like, oh, I'm already over. I just don't want to see how much damage I did. So I'm just going to stop tracking. But you're taking the accountability away from what you're doing. So if you would just continue to track, you probably would hold yourself a little bit more accountable and not do as much damage as you would if you just would track it rather than stop tracking. Also with tracking nutrition, honestly, that's tracking everything. So BLTs, so those bites, licks, and tastes that you have throughout the day. So if you take a handful of M&Ms out of a jar in a mechanic shop or something, if you're getting your oil changed and you have a couple of M&Ms or some popcorn or something, and you just have like a couple bites, and if you don't track those bites, those can add up to so many calories throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the months. And so that could be a huge reason why you're not seeing progress, because you're not tracking those BLTs and you're not tracking your nutrition honestly. Another way people can practice extreme accountability is weighing and measuring your food rather than eyeballing and guessing portion sizes. I know weighing and measuring your food can be annoying. It can be a pain in the butt. It takes a little bit longer, but you don't have to like it. Okay. It's not fun. That's why not everybody does it. Okay. But it's such a great tool to help get you to your goal as quickly as possible. And the goal is to never have to weigh and measure and track long term. The goal is just to get you to your goal as quickly as possible. But if you're not honest with your nutrition, then it's going to take so much longer. So just having that accountability with nutrition and with your workouts can help you get there a lot quicker. And then how to practice extreme accountability daily is plan ahead instead of reacting. So kind of what Megan said earlier on the call, she's like, I didn't really know what was going to be at the party. So I made sure to get enough protein beforehand. So she planned ahead to make sure that she got her protein in so that way she could enjoy a little bit of whatever was going to be at the party. So that is great. And that's exactly what we want you to do. So planning ahead looks like having gotten your grocery shopping done at the beginning of the week. So that way, you have some meats or high protein foods or healthy foods on hand rather than just panicking and not having food and then end up in the McDonald's drive-thru on the way home. So planning ahead instead of reaction can really help you stay accountable and can help you practice that extreme accountability. And then own your misses without drama. So if you do mess up, okay, it happens to everyone. Nobody's perfect, but handling it without the drama is the big thing. So let's say you don't hit your step goal any day, like you didn't hit it once last week. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. I'm not burning any calories. I suck at this. I should stop. Just take that drama out of it and be like, okay, I missed my steps last week. Okay, I could probably do better this week. Let's try to hit my steps 5 out of 7 days this week instead. See how much less dramatic that was? You didn't make it mean anything about yourself or about your moral value or whether or not you're good or bad. It just was like, okay, last week, that's what happened. This week, I'm going to try to do a little bit better. And so it takes the drama out of things. It makes it a very neutral situation. And it just gives you the data to know where you can adjust and improve. How to practice extreme accountability. Also ask, what's the smallest action that I can take today? Like, what is something that I can do today that maybe I wouldn't have done in the past to do a little bit better? So if you're consistently under on your steps, what is the smallest thing that you can do today to get you closer to that step goal? Maybe it's taking a 5-10 minute walk after lunch instead of going back and sitting and talking to a coworker. Maybe it's asking that coworker, hey, do you want to go on a walk with me while we talk instead of just like sitting here? That's just a small little action, but those little actions can make a huge difference. And then how to practice extreme accountability is communicating with your coach instead of disappearing. So we can't help you if you don't communicate with us. And we are never here to judge you. We are here to help you. So if we can kind of open your eyes to see what is going well and what is going wrong, then we can help hold you accountable to see what the big picture is. So I think just last week, one of Annabelle's clients was really frustrated. She's been doing the program for a while. She's been stuck at like the 15-pound loss mark. And she's like, I feel like I'm doing everything and nothing is changing. And I'm so frustrated with myself. And then she communicated that to us. So we understood how she was kind of like frustrated, and she also has PCOS. So we're trying to see if like that's why she's stuck. But then if we go back and look at her calendar, she wasn't tracking on the weekends and she hit her step goal maybe once or twice a week. And so once we realize that data, we don't have to blame her PCOS. We don't have to blame her hormones. We don't have to blame her feelings of feeling like she's doing everything right and not seeing results. We could look at that data and be like, look, you're not seeing progress. When you were seeing progress, you were hitting your steps every single day. So maybe this week, let's try to track on the weekends and then get your steps every single day and see if anything changes for next week. And so it took all of the drama out of it. It stopped blaming her hormones and it put herself in control of what was happening. So she was able to be like, oh, you're right. I'm not hitting my steps. I'm not tracking on the weekends. And that's probably why my body isn't changing. And I'm just stuck at this 15-pound loss mark because I'm not doing all the things that I could be doing. And I'm just blaming it on my PCOS. So it kind of just gives her that extreme accountability to be like, oh, there are things that I can do to help this rather than just using those outside factors. Okay, so using data and not emotions. So the scale, obviously the scale, a lot of us want it to move. Sometimes it doesn't. Photos are a huge thing too. I have one client who does struggle with PCOS. She has lots of chronic inflammation. And she is basically the same weight that she's been for the past 6 months of me coaching her. But I compared her photos side by side and she looks so much leaner. She started strength training 3 times a week. She started new exercises and new workouts, and she started progressive overloading. And she went to her doctor, and the doctor said she put on 3 pounds of muscle since the last time they tested her. And her doctor was so impressed. So even if the scale doesn't move, photos and strength definitely can help tell the story. Because if we went just based off the scale, it would have looked like she wasn't really making any progress. But since we had those photos, we had those strength numbers, and we had her doctor, test her BMI and her body fat percentage, we were able to be like, okay, you're not failing, you're not stuck, you are making lots of progress, and you're doing more of a body recomposition right now. Another thing that you can use as data is energy. So if you're having more energy throughout the day, if you feel a little bit better, if your confidence is improving, those things are also indicators that things are working. And all of those are information. So if you use the data and not emotions, it will give you the information, because a lot of people get frustrated that the scale is not moving. But if you look at the whole picture, you can kind of take the emotions out of it. You can take the drama out of it and realize what is actually happening. And then keep in mind that bad days don't mean bad programs. There's one girl that I've had in all of the years of my coaching, and she's like, this program just doesn't work for me. And then we go back and we look, and the first 3 weeks when she was following the program, I think she lost, it was between 5 and 10 pounds. She probably lost like 8-ish. But then she stopped following the program halfway through and started going back to her group fitness classes. And then she gained the weight back and got stuck. So she's like, she blamed it on the program, when really when she was following the program, she was down weight, and she said it didn't work for her. And so, it doesn't mean that it's like a bad program. Maybe it just means that like you're not following it, right? And so we had that data to go off of to kind of like see what was happening, because obviously I don't want to have a bad program. I don't want people to think that my program sucks. And so we went back and looked at the data, and we're like, oh no, when you were following it, you're actually doing really well. Just once you stopped following it was when things kind of took a turn. So yeah, having bad days doesn't mean it's a bad program. You just need to make the adjustments and keep going. And then also look for trends and not moments. So there's lots of times where people will weigh in. They thought they had a perfect week. They marked all the boxes off on their calendar for the day, and then the scale goes up and they're like, well, what the heck happened here? Then they're really frustrated. They feel like it's not working. And then they get upset. And then we kind of look at the trend, and over the past like 6 months, their weight loss graph looks like this. So it goes down, up a little bit, down, up a little bit, down, up a little bit, up, down. And so we can see like, look, you're trending downwards, and there's normal peaks and valleys in your graph. And that one moment where the scale goes up doesn't mean it's bad. Maybe you just had saltier food. Maybe you just started your period. Maybe something like you just had a stressful time. But as long as you're in that downward trajectory and your goal is fat loss, then you know you're on the right track. So being able to look at the big picture and overall trends versus small day-to-day moments can really help you there as well. And then adjusting based on evidence and not feelings. I think being able to look at data and having evidence of what is actually happening versus what you feel like is happening can really help you come to the realization of what is actually happening. And so it's so good and it's so helpful for you guys to track, because if you are tracking perfectly and you're following everything perfectly and nothing is changing, then we can make those adjustments to make sure that you're still on track. But if you're kind of like half tracking, you're kind of half doing the program, we don't want to make the program harder, or we don't want to lower your calorie goal, or we don't want to increase your workouts if you're not really tracking it anyway, because it would just make it harder, and we don't know the exact data to go off of to see where we do need to adjust. So being able to have all of that information helps us adjust your program based on evidence and not how you're feeling. So yeah, and I think data keeps emotions from driving the car. I think if we all let our emotions drive the car, we would all be in a ditch off of the side of the cliff, right? I know for me personally, as like a business owner, there's so many days where like we'll have weeks where all my clients check in and maybe one or two lose weight, the rest go up. And I'm like, what the heck is happening? I'm an awful coach. And then I go back and I look at the data. It's like, no, all these people are doing awesome. Is maybe just like a bad week after the holidays. So I look back at the data and being like, no, these things are happening. I'm not an awful coach. I don't need to quit. I don't need to throw in the towel. I don't need to drive the car off the bridge. We just need to come back, look at the data and see what is actually happening and look for those long-term trends rather than those little moments. So that way we don't drive the car off the cliff. All right, so the accountability loop. So set a clear expectation, set a clear goal. What are you wanting to achieve? What actions do you need to take to get to that goal? And then take those actions and then review the results. So that's why we have those weekly check-ins, so we can set goals, take the action, and review to see if those are working, and then make adjustments when we need to. Let's say you hit your steps 5 out of the 7 days and you were able to lose weight while doing that. That doesn't mean you're a failure because you didn't hit your steps every single day. It means like maybe you can hit your step goal 5 out of the 7 days and still see results. And maybe we don't need to adjust that. We can just keep it where it's at. And so we can make those adjustments when we need to, or we can just realize like, hey, this is good. We just need to keep doing what we're doing because you're seeing good results, even if it's not perfect. And then you just need to repeat. So set an expectation, take action, review results, adjust, and then repeat. If you don't check in on weeks that you don't do well, then that kind of takes away it takes away the accountability and holding yourself accountable even on weeks when you're not perfect. So it's really important that you check in not only on weeks that you follow the program perfectly and get good results, but also on weeks when maybe you didn't do your best. Like those weeks are probably more important that you check in and hold yourself accountable versus the weeks that you follow it perfectly. And this loop is where confidence is built because you realize that you are in control of what happens to you. You know the plan, you know how to make adjustments. And if you just keep repeating that and reevaluating that, you'll become more and more confident because you'll be able to realize like, oh, I'm actually in control here over a lot of things. So that can help you build the confidence. And the payoff of extreme accountability and taking control of your results is one, faster results. You realize like, okay, if I do this more consistently, if I'm more accountable to tracking, if I'm more accountable to my steps, if I'm more accountable to drinking my water, I get faster results. And then also less frustration. So you, instead of feeling like you're doing everything right and then realizing that you're only following the plan halfway, you feel less frustrated because you're like, oh, okay, so if I follow the plan halfway, I'm going to get half results. But if I follow it fully, then maybe I'll get full results. So it takes the frustration out of it, takes that drama out of it, and gives you more of a clear and focused plan and what you need to do. Helps build your confidence because then you're a person who shows up for yourself. You know exactly what to do. And if you just follow the plan, then you get the results. And then this is a skill that carries into life, into work, and into relationships. So me and Cade have a weekly check-in every Sunday night where we check in and we see what happened throughout the week, what went well, what went bad, and if we need to make any adjustments to improve our relationship. And so that helps us keep our relationship happy, and it helps keep us healthy, and it helps us not build resentment. And I think that is a skill that both of us probably developed in fitness, and then we were able to move that into our relationship. It also helps with work. I've noticed as like a business owner, I do the same thing where it's like, what went well this week, what didn't go well. I review the results, take the drama out, take the emotions out, and realize what the real picture is and what's going well and what's not going well. So it's a really, really, really cool once you develop this skill into your fitness life and how it leaks into other areas of your life and how important that can be. And it's just such a great skill to learn. So learning how to take extreme accountability and realize how much you are in control of things. And extreme accountability turns effort into momentum. And just keep in mind, you're not behind, you're just becoming responsible for your results. All right, Q&As, ask away. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I have one.
Let's hear it.
So thinking about being prepared part, this last week I wasn't super prepared on meal prepping. So I wanted to ask you if you know about Mo Better. They have they have a lean protein meal. And it says it's 74 grams of protein, and then, you know, they have the vegetable and the rice. Do you know if that's a good, like, would that be an okay replacement for meal prep? Because that's kind of what I did this week instead of, but I split it up into 2 meals because it's really big.
Yeah.
So it was basically lunch and dinner.
Yeah, so I think with eating out, it can be okay sometimes, but sometimes like the workers just don't really care, right? So they're not like weighing and measuring everything. They're not putting all those specific amount of oils and butters and like whatever they cook it in the right amount. They're probably putting more some days and less others. I think the biggest thing is if like you do want to use that as meal prep, take the data and see if it actually is accurate. So if you do split it up into 2 meals and you count it for a certain amount of calories and you have the same, like if you stay within your calorie goal and you're losing weight eating those meals every single day, then you know it's a good option. You're like, yeah, it's pretty accurate. I lose weight while I'm doing it and I'm getting a lot of protein. So that's great. If you start going up in weight while you're adding those meals in and it's still showing that you are tracking it at your calorie goal or under, but your weight's going up, then maybe you're like, okay, well, then it's probably not as accurate as what they're saying on the nutrition facts. And so maybe I either split it up into 3 meals or I just learn how to cook it at home, or just use that every once in a while as an option and not every single day or every single week. So that's kind of how I would do it, is just like take the data and see if it still helps you stay in a calorie deficit. If it does, great. Maybe it's an easy option for you to eat out and stay within your calorie goals and have a convenient high protein meal. If it doesn't, then either just split it up into 3 meals or track it either higher in calories than what it recommends. So overestimate the calories a little bit or just choose a different option, you know?
Okay.
Good question. All right. Anybody else? I think Cassie said something in the comment. She said, this conversation hits and it's humbling. I catch myself doing some of these things and try to pivot when I catch it. I would say this program has been the most beneficial for me from a sustainability standpoint. I don't feel like such high pressure on myself to be perfect. I have to work out 7 days a week or eat perfect to see results. Love that. Love that. Yeah. Yeah, we want to, like, with me, I have a hard time following anything perfect. And so I wanted to make sure that I developed a program that other people would be able to maintain and see results with too. So obviously there does take some sacrifice. You do have to cut out some things. Sometimes you can't eat as much food as you want to, but you should be able to have some form of balance within the structure that we lay out for you. So that way you are able to sustain it long term. So I'm glad that most of you guys are seeing it that way. And that makes me pretty happy there. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments, concerns? Doesn't have to be related to extreme accountability either. It can be something else. No? Is anyone here just for the bonus points this month? Cool. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a great Super Bowl. And we got Frankie. Frankie, sneak in there. What question do you have?
No questions. Just saying I'm here for the bonus points and just like listening in.
Okay. Frankie's here for the bonus points. Love the honesty. I was going to say I've never seen you on a call before, but that's why. She's trying to get that Miki Couture blanket. Don't blame you guys. They're pretty awesome. Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, have a great Super Bowl. Go eat some food. Make sure you stay within your calories, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.